Let's get straight into it. You know what the hardest part of dealing with sarcasm and backhanded comments is? It's not the comment itself, it's the confusion. Because for 1 second, you're standing there thinking, was that supposed to be funny? Was that an insult? Should I laugh? Should I say something? And while you're trying to decode it, they're already walking away or pretending like you're too sensitive. That's the trap. Sarcasm, especially weaponized sarcasm, is just disrespect wrapped in a smile. It's someone throwing a punch but pretending their hand was open. So let's talk about how you shut it down without blowing up, without looking dramatic, and without getting pulled into the emotional games people play. People who use sarcastic jabs expect one of two reactions: you laugh it off to keep the peace, or you get triggered. Both reactions reward them. So the smartest thing you can do, stay steady. Not silent, steady. Your tone calm. Your face unbothered. Your body language relaxed. When you don't react emotionally, their joke loses its punch. Because sarcasm only works when someone takes the hit. If you don't flinch, they lose power instantly. When someone throws sarcasm or a backhanded comment your way, the easiest reaction is to laugh it off or pretend it didn't bother you. But here's the truth most people avoid ignoring: it doesn't make you stronger. It just trains the other person to keep doing it. Sarcasm is often a shield people hide behind because they don't have the courage to say what they really mean. And the only way to take that shield away is to call out the meaning, not the joke. When you make someone own their words, suddenly the joke isn't so funny anymore. People respond to sarcasm emotionally. They get embarrassed, frustrated, or thrown off. That's natural because sarcasm is designed to create exactly that reaction. It's meant to make you unsure of yourself while letting the other person pretend they didn't mean anything by it. But when you stop reacting to the delivery and focus on the intention, you flip the entire dynamic. You make the conversation about clarity instead of comedy. You make them step into the real message behind their words. And that's a place most sarcastic people do not want to stand in for long. The simplest way to do this is with a calm, grounded question. Something like, "What did you mean by that?" Or, "I want to make sure I understand. What are you actually trying to say?" You're not attacking. You're not accusing. You're just removing the mask they were hiding behind. And here's the part that catches them off guard: sarcasm only works when it stays vague. The second you make it literal, the second you ask for clarity, you break the spell. They either have to admit what they meant or backpedal, and either option exposes the truth. They weren't joking to be funny. They were joking to be indirect. People who use sarcasm as a weapon rely on your silence. They assume you'll let it slide because you don't want to look too sensitive. They assume you'll laugh along because you don't want to create tension. But calling out the meaning doesn't create tension. It reveals the tension they created. And when you bring their intention to the surface, their comfort evaporates. They suddenly have to navigate honesty instead of hiding behind humor. That's why this works so well. You're not fighting them, you're holding them accountable to their own words. The key is staying calm. The calmer you are, the faster their confidence drops. A sarcastic remark delivered with a smirk loses its punch when you respond with steady, grounded curiosity. It stops feeling like a joke and starts feeling like a statement they need to explain. And most people aren't prepared to explain their sarcasm because the moment they try, they hear themselves. They hear the insecurity, the disrespect, or the passive aggression they were hoping you wouldn't notice. Suddenly the mirror is in their hands, not yours. Another powerful move is to reflect their message back to them clearly. If someone says, "Wow, nice job showing up on time for once," you can respond with, "So it sounds like you're frustrated I was late before." You're not escalating. You're translating. You're taking their sarcasm and placing it into plain language. That shift forces them into real conversation instead of a cheap jab. And the moment the conversation becomes real, they lose the safety of sarcasm. It's no longer a joke. They have to own the meaning. This strategy also protects your dignity without making things dramatic. You're not snapping back. You're not embarrassing them. You're simply refusing to play the game. And most people stop when they realize you won't give them what they want. Sarcasm is an emotional trap. When you don't step into it, the trap collapses. You keep your power, and they're left holding a comment they don't know how to justify. The more consistently you do this, the more people adjust how they speak around you. It sets a standard. If you talk to me, you talk to me directly. Not sideways, not jokingly, not masked in passive aggression. And the people who respect you will rise to that standard. The ones who don't will fall silent because they know their usual tactics won't land. Calling out the meaning is not about confrontation. It's about clarity. It's about refusing to let someone disguise disrespect as humor And once you learn how to calmly make people own their words, you'll notice something powerful. Sarcastic comments won't shake you anymore. They'll reveal more about the person saying them than the person receiving them. When someone hits you with sarcasm or a backhanded joke, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, fire back, or shut down. That's exactly what the person hopes you'll do. Sarcasm isn't always humor. Sometimes it's a strategy. It's a way to say something sharp without taking responsibility for saying it. It's a way to poke at you while keeping their own hands clean. But when you choose calm curiosity instead of reacting, everything changes. You take away their escape route. You force them to explain what they were trying to joke about, and most people are not prepared for that level of exposure. Calm curiosity is powerful because it doesn't match their energy. Sarcasm is quick, edgy, and dismissive. Curiosity is slow, steady, and anchoring. When you respond with curiosity, you're not stepping into the emotional arena they're trying to drag you into. You're stepping above it. You're telling them, without saying it, that you're not here to play their game. You want clarity. You want truth. You want the real message behind the words they wrapped in humor. There's something disarming about a calm question after a sarcastic comment. Someone laughs and says, "Well, I guess you finally decided to do something right today," expecting you to laugh along or get uncomfortable. But instead, you respond with, "What do you mean by that?" Suddenly, the tone shifts. The smirk fades. The joke stops breathing. Because now they're not just throwing out a jab, they're being asked to explain it. And explanations require honesty. Honesty requires ownership. Ownership removes the mask. When you ask with genuine curiosity, not sarcasm, not edge, not attitude, you put the responsibility back in their hands. You create a moment where they have to think. Most sarcastic people don't think, they react. They use humor as a shortcut to expressing frustration, insecurity, or dominance. But a curious question interrupts that pattern. It forces their brain out of automatic mode and into accountability. It slows them down. It makes them look at the intention behind their words, not just the delivery. The key to this working is your tone. Calm curiosity only works when it's genuinely, you're not saying, "What do you mean by that?" with attitude. You're saying, "What do you mean by that?" with interest. Like you're trying to understand, not trying to catch them. That tone is what disarms people. It removes the excuse for them to get defensive. And when they don't have a place to hide, their real intentions start to surface in their stumbling, in their hesitation, in their attempt to frame what they said as harmless. Curiosity also reveals the emotional gap between you and them. They expected tension, they expected pushback, they expected a reaction. Instead, you handed them a mirror. You held space for their words to be examined. And people who use sarcasm to avoid accountability do not want to see their words clearly. They don't want to think about the fact that their jokes might come from insecurity, envy, irritation, or passive aggression. They don't want to admit that they didn't have the courage to say what they really meant. Curiosity forces them to either reveal the intention or retreat. Another powerful effect of calm curiosity is that it protects your dignity without damaging the relationship. You're not attacking them. You're not embarrassing them. You're not starting a fight. You're simply seeking understanding. And most people, once they're confronted with that level of calm presence, soften. Their sarcasm loses momentum because you're not giving them tension to fuel it. Instead, your curiosity creates a more honest, grounded interaction. And when you stay curious long enough, patterns begin to shift. People who rely on sarcasm start choosing different words around you because they know you won't let them hide behind humor. They know you'll ask questions that pull the truth to the surface. They know their half, joke won't go unchallenged. Over time, that changes the tone of the entire relationship. You teach people without lecturing them that clarity is required with you. You teach them that they can't use sarcasm as a weapon or a shield. What makes calm curiosity so effective is that it's non-reactive. You're not absorbing their energy. You're reflecting it back. You're giving them a chance to show their real intention, sometimes even to themselves. And when you approach sarcasm this way, you'll start to notice something powerful. Their comments lose their ability to destabilize you. They lose their edge. They lose their sting. Because you're not meeting sarcasm with insecurity. You're meeting it with groundedness. And groundedness wins every time.
A boundary doesn't need an explanation, a lecture, or a paragraph of justification. The people who respect you don't need all that. And the people who don't respect you won't listen to it anyway. That's why setting a boundary in one clear, emotionally neutral sentence is one of the strongest moves you can make when someone uses sarcasm or backhanded comments. The goal isn't to convince them to change. The goal is to state your line so clearly that there's no confusion about where you stand. A long explanation invites debate. A short sentence closes the door on it, and neutrality keeps you from getting pulled into a power struggle. Most people overtalk when they're uncomfortable. They sense disrespect, they feel their emotions rising, and they start explaining, clarifying, defending, or apologizing for simply wanting basic respect. But the more words you use, the more power you give away. Boundaries are not emotional events, they are informational statements. You are telling someone what behavior you will or won't allow, nothing more, nothing less. And when you deliver that message in one sentence with a calm tone, you communicate strength without aggression. You communicate confidence without needing approval. You communicate that you're not asking for respect, you expect it. One-sentence boundaries work because they leave no cracks for manipulation. Sarcastic people tend to twist things, redirect the conversation, or pretend they were just joking. But when you respond with a neutral, simple line like, "I don't respond to comments like that," you stop the game immediately. There's nothing for them to argue with. There's nothing for them to twist. You're not questioning their intention. You're not challenging their personality. You're stating your standard, and standards don't need defense. They stand by themselves. The emotional neutrality is what makes the sentence land. If you sound angry, they can say you're overreacting. If you sound hurt, they can play innocent. But when your voice is calm, steady, and unbothered, they lose all the places they normally hide. You're speaking from a grounded place, not a triggered one. You're setting a boundary, not starting a fight. You're controlling your energy, not giving them control of it. And that changes the entire dynamic in the moment. Some people think being direct is rude, but clarity is the kindest form of communication. It tells the other person exactly what's going on without putting them in a guessing game. If someone is comfortable enough to make sarcastic or backhanded comments toward you, you should be comfortable enough to name your boundary without flinching. You don't have to match their tone. You don't have to justify your line. You just need to say it once, in a way that's impossible to misunderstand. 1. Sentence boundaries also protect you from over-explaining. The moment you start adding paragraphs, you weaken your position. You shift from stating a boundary to trying to persuade them why they should care. But you don't need someone to agree with your boundary for it to be valid. Their approval is irrelevant. Your clarity is what matters. A single sentence keeps you aligned with that clarity. It keeps you from stepping into emotional mud where the conversation can spiral into defensiveness, denial, or more sarcasm. Another reason these short boundaries are powerful is because they create an internal shift for you. When you state what you tolerate and what you don't in a clean, calm sentence, you train yourself to take up space. You teach your nervous system that you don't need to shrink, avoid, or explain. Over time, it becomes easier to speak from that place of grounded confidence. And the more consistently you do it, the more people adjust around you. They sense the line. They sense the firmness. They sense that certain behaviors won't get a reaction, they'll get a boundary. The people who are used to getting away with disrespect might push back. They might roll their eyes, minimize, or pretend they didn't mean anything. But your job isn't to control their reactions. Your job is to maintain your line without engaging in their tactics. One sentence keeps you anchored. I don't respond to that tone. I'm not available for comments like that. If you want to talk to me, keep it respectful. These are not confrontational statements. They're instructions. They tell the other person how to interact with you, and they give them the choice to step up or step out. And if someone chooses not to respect your boundary, their behavior reveals something important. and you don't need an argument to see it. A boundary isn't about controlling them. It's about guiding your own behavior based on what they choose. But the power of a one-sentence boundary is that it makes the truth very clear, very fast. There's no drama, no tension, no performance, just clarity. And clarity is what ends the power of sarcasm, backhanded comments, and emotional games. One sentence. Neutral tone, solid ground, that's all you need. The fastest way to shut down backhanded comments is not with a comeback, not with an argument, and not with a long speech. It's with the one thing disrespectful people cannot handle: losing access to your attention. Attention is fuel. It rewards behavior, it keeps the interaction alive, and it gives the other person a sense of control. When someone uses sarcasm, backhanded remarks, or disguised insults, they're not always trying to be funny. Many times they're taking shots to see how you react, they're testing your confidence, they're checking whether you'll shrink, defend yourself, or play along. And when you pull your attention away, you remove the incentive. You make the game unprofitable for them. Disrespect can only survive in the environment you give it. When you take away that environment, it loses its power instantly. Withdrawing attention doesn't mean storming off or acting dramatic. It means staying calm, staying grounded, and disengaging from the dynamic completely. You don't feed the comment. You don't reward it with laughs, explanations, or analysis. You shift your focus. You redirect your energy. You continue the conversation on your terms, or you walk away without announcing it. It's not avoidance. It's self-respect in motion. People who rely on backhanded behavior often expect you to take the bait. They expect confusion, hurt, or defensiveness. When you don't give them any of that, you interrupt the entire pattern. It's like they throw a hook, and you simply choose not to bite. That destroys the rhythm they're used to. This approach works because attention is a form of agreement. Even if you argue with the comment, you're still participating in the dynamic they set. You're still validating that they get to have this kind of access to you. But when you pull your attention away, you're essentially saying, "This conversation doesn't meet my standards." It's a quiet, powerful form of boundary setting. It tells the other person that if they want your presence, your time, or your engagement, they have to show up with basic respect. You're not asking for it. You're not demanding it. You're demonstrating that disrespect automatically disconnects you. And here's the part most people don't realize. Withdrawing attention is not silence. It's strategy. It's choosing where your energy goes. Disrespect is loud, but it cannot compete with calm detachment. When you stop reacting, you stop reinforcing, and human behavior follows reinforcement. If disrespect doesn't achieve anything, it stops being worth the effort. A backhanded comment that gets no emotional spike, no defensive explanation, no irritated reply becomes awkward for the person who threw it. They feel the weight of the silence. They feel the gap you create. They feel the accountability that comes from not being able to hide behind just joking. Your lack of reaction exposes their intention more than any argument ever could. This strategy also protects your dignity. When you argue with sarcasm, you look like you're fighting for validation. When you defend yourself against disguised insults, you look like you're playing their game. But when you calmly disengage, you show that you're not on that level. You show that your self-respect isn't negotiable. You show that you don't respond to bait. You elevate yourself without making a scene, and people feel that shift instantly. It's confidence without effort. The people who care about you will notice your withdrawal and adjust their behavior. They'll respect the quiet line you set. The people who don't care will get frustrated because losing your attention means losing control. They may try harder, throw more sarcasm, or act confused. But even then, your job isn't to explain the boundary. Your job is to maintain it. You don't need to announce, "I'm ignoring you." You simply invest your energy somewhere else. You talk to someone else. You change the topic. You redirect yourself to something productive. You show, not tell, that disrespect doesn't earn a place in your space. Pulling back your attention also gives you emotional clarity. When you stop reacting, you see the situation for what it really is, not what your ego wants to do with it. You stop trying to win. You stop trying to prove something. You realize the most important thing isn't the comment, it's your response. Disrespect is loud, but your silence is strategic. It's not about being passive. It's about choosing not to participate in dynamics that drain your confidence. And the beauty of withdrawing attention is that it works instantly. It doesn't require the other person to agree. It doesn't rely on them being emotionally mature. It only relies on you choosing where your energy goes. You can't control how someone behaves, but you can absolutely control whether their behavior gets access to your emotional space. When you stop feeding disrespect, it starves. When you stop reacting, it loses its audience. And when you stop rewarding backhanded behavior, you make it clear without saying a single dramatic word that your attention is earned, not owed.